the day that you inherit or win the lottery or whatever, you will blow money. It doesn't matter how much your net worth goes up, you will always default back to your self-worth.
Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. I'm your host, Madison Malloy, and on today's episode, we are talking about self-worth equaling your net worth. We talked to a very, very dynamic woman who's here in studio with us today, who's an author, a mother, a philanthropist, and came into a large sum of money that really, quite frankly, changed her life. And the lessons that she's learned and her book and just all the value that she has learned to navigate through these difficult, judgmental waters, as we will call them. The story is fascinating. She's amazing. Absolutely love this episode. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this brief message with our guest on Next to Madison. Just want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor of the podcast in this episode, Rebound AM. It's a new recovery drink. This was sent to me as soon as I tried it. I said, I have to partner with you guys. This thing is unbelievable. It has got vitamin C, zinc. It is the electrolytes you need. You wake up, you drink it, you are hydrated, you've got the vitamins and minerals, it builds your immunity, and you are ready to start your day. I still have my coffee because this has no caffeine, but it is so tasty. It's a great thing. Instead of mixing all these electrolyte powders and stirring everything, you can just pop open one of these cans and you are good to go. And a little tip that they told me was that if you have a few too many cocktails the night before, you can drink one before bed, and then you can drink one in the morning, and you'll be super charged up like you never even made bad decisions the night before. So definitely check them out. They're available on Amazon, Rebound AM. Delicious flavors. They've got orange, lime, mixed berry, and I think lemon, but don't quote me on that, but they are all delicious and amazing. Now, back to the show. All right, welcome back. We are in studio with our amazing guest. She's an author, she's a mother, she's a dynamic duo. She has an unbelievable story, so I'm so excited to talk to her about it today. Suzanne Leydecker, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I am so good, and I'm so happy to be here in Franklin, Tennessee with you this morning.
Yeah, well, we're in Nashville, just so you know, but close enough.
Okay. Well, you know.
No, Franklin's a nice suburb of Nashville, but no, Franklin's a very nice town.
No wonder your studio's so cool, because you're in Nashville.
We're in Nashville. We're like the hip. So we're going to get into your story, which has to do with, how money can really screw up your life, or it can really benefit your life based on your mindset and your self-worth. But I want to know your quick backstory first, and then we're going to really get into like the meat of kind of what happened to you and what you learned and how you're helping others.
All right. So thank you for that. I wrote a book called A Woman on Top, My Journey of Self-Discovery Through Love and Money. I had no plans on writing a book. I went all the way through college without taking an English course.
Yeah.
I'm really good with math and numbers and things, and so English just wasn't my thing. And I had just broken up with a boyfriend back in 2012, and as he was walking out the door, slamming the door behind him, I said, I am going to write a book called A Woman with Means. And he looks at me and he says, you can't write a book about money. You know nothing about it. I was 47 at the time, and just months before I had met him, I had inherited some money. So I went on to go to graduate school, and I was
at 47?
Yeah, I inherited the money at 47 in June, met him in October. Didn't put the two together. Okay. He was Olympic athlete, really a great guy, much younger than me. I have a type. Professional athletes in sports that don't make any money. Really hot, super hot.
I love the honesty.
Young and broker than crap. And in each situation, I repeated the same mistake, trying to take care of them. The backstory of my life is that from my birth, I was destined to write this book about the intersection of love and money. And
okay.
It's so funny because a lot of people like my book because the beginning of it is I was born Suzanne Lynn Robinson in this town on this date by these parents. And there was such a thing about money when I was growing up, like who gets it, who like spends it, who makes it, and I think that people like the beginning of the book because it makes them think about how they grew up. We were talking a little bit about this before, like when you grow up in some kind of wealth or you grow up in poverty.
Well, that's exactly right, because it's either your conversations that you were having or the other people get really messed up because they hear money doesn't grow on trees, there's not enough money, and so they develop this scarcity mindset. You have to work really hard, you have to hoard money, there's never enough money, you can't. And so you have these two extremes which both create these massive problems. But you had, so continue on, but you had the other one where, the family, money didn't grow on trees, but it wasn't, you weren't having those debt things, but it was more like,
my family was so weird. So my father made the money, my mother spent it, but my father was like, no, we're not going to spend this. He was the one that grew up in a very poor mentality.
Okay.
Just post the Depression. My mother was a little bit younger than him and grew up in this, I can get anything I want. I tell this story in my book, like all of a sudden when I was, a teenager, maybe 20 or something, my mother bought this car that she couldn't afford. Yeah. I finally found out she used my inheritance from my grandmother to buy it. But at the time, I didn't realize she bought like an $80,000 car, which then was pretty expensive, a little green Jaguar, and just parked it in the garage. And they never talked about it, my mother and father. Never had a conversation. Like, I was like, that is so weird.
What year was this?
This was in like 1988.
That's a lot of money for a car, $80,088.
Well, she got it from the inheritance, I figured out. I wrote about this in my book. But I was like, what? I still can't figure out why he never said, where did you get that damn car or something? Nothing. They just drove around and never discussed it. I was like, okay, that's very different. So I didn't really realize until I started writing the book that I was destined to write this. And it's so funny because when I went to publish it on Amazon, you have to pick out 2 or 3 categories. I don't remember how many. And I had people helping me.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, my category is love and money. Yeah. There is not a person out there writing about the intersection of love and money.
And it's so needed.
I was like, what is going on here? Especially today, Madison, because there's so many more females that are making more money, becoming the breadwinners.
Yeah.
No men going to college. There's no good men out there. Everybody's single. Women are just, and that's not the way it has to be. But my book is very relevant in what's going on right now in the world.
No, it makes so much sense because, you have men that have become very successful and are afraid to get married because it is now a business liability. Yeah, you have women that are like, why on earth am I going to struggle? I'm only going to give somebody a chance if they're rich. So then they never really meet the right person.
No.
And they don't value the right things. And then you have women that decided to give up their career and stay home and then become resentful because they regret giving up the career. And then you have the women that are making more money and the men are staying. So it's
there's so much going on.
And then you've got social media on top of that where everybody's comparing everybody and life looks like a highlight reel when they don't really know kind of what's going on behind the scenes. But the thing is, like, money is just an exchange of goods and services, right?
Yes.
I think we put so much emphasis on what money is. I had a guest on this podcast, and he said the funniest thing to me. We were talking about like AI and the jobs it might take, and he goes, money is just a tool that we use to exchange goods and services. If you gave a raccoon $1, they'd be like, what the fuck is this?
They need it.
This is irrelevant to me. So the amount, like how we place so much value on it and we let it destroy relationships, choose relationships. But you're somebody who's actually like lived it, because I've always been, I didn't come from money, but my dad worked really hard and we were, he was successful in his own right, but we're not like, I don't have a trust fund. But I'm so glad I didn't grow up like that.
Yeah.
Because I work my ass off now, and the struggle has made me who I am today, that I'm really proud of who I've become.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, a lot of people think that's why on my website you could see that it was like, was this my greatest curse or my greatest gift? Like, it was really, really hard. So when I inherited money, which wasn't a ton, I'm not riding around in private planes or anything. It's just more than what I had. And I grew up very simply.
Yeah.
But my father did quite well in his business. And so when I was 17, he took his freight forwarding business, which is now called Global Logistics. He took it public on the NASDAQ.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, we got a second home.
Yeah.
And, before then, we were playing kickball in the backyard and going on a weekend trip to Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
So things changed a little bit. And then slowly but surely over time, he was able to liquidate some of that stock. And so that's where some of the money came from. And then he got Alzheimer's and died, unfortunately, very, very poor. But he had this life insurance policy. So I never really knew if it was going to come. I knew it was there, but it was so twisted. So I was like, I don't know. So I grew up relatively simply. And then, when the day the checks came, they sent there was 2 checks.
So you didn't know? So did your mom and dad die together?
No, but it was the second to die life insurance policy. So he died in 2003 and she died on December 31st, 2006. She was a party girl, San Francisco socialite. I was like, figured she would die on New Year's Eve. And
She died on New Year's Eve?
She did. Oh my God. I was like, that's so
As a
classic.
party girl, wow, God was like, all right, let's take your party up here. Come to heaven.
I'm not kidding you.
Wow.
So, and it took me till 6 months to get Cigna or something. I forgot who the policy was under, but I called these guys and talked to somebody, and she's like, oh, I can help you. And I'm like, I think I'm going to need to talk to your supervisor. Eventually, they sent 2 checks by post, just with a stamp on it, and they got lost. I mean, did we not have FedEx in 2007? I don't remember. So I said, if you don't send those checks, I'm going to come sit on your desk until you give them to me. And so they did come, and there was no smartphones back then, so I couldn't take a picture of this.
Right.
And so, there was such a sense of relief because my divorce from my ex-husband didn't really go that well for me. So I didn't have a ton of money, and I was raising 3 children on my own. And so there was such relief that I could take care of myself and my children for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But in the backstory of it, all of a sudden, I lived then in Aspen, Colorado, and I was part of the cool kids, hung around with ski racers. There was, most of my friends there, even though it's a $1 billion town, are poor, still are.
Yeah.
But I was part of, and then all of a sudden they started treating me differently.
How did they know though?
I don't know. It's like where you live. It just leaks out. So
you would kind of you updated your place of residency. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that maybe your energy started to get different? Do you feel that you felt different?
I don't know. It was so complicated for me because I didn't have any idea what I was getting into, which is eventually why I wrote a book about it. So we were talking earlier about how inheriting money or selling your business, because people don't think about that. Let's say you're working your whole life and you're making your whatever money, and then you sell your business for $10 million or whatever it is. All of a sudden, that is a windfall of money as well.
Yeah.
Getting divorced, you can have a windfall of money.
Yeah. Okay.
And everyone's like, trust funders are no good. They're lazy.
Yeah.
I spent my whole life trying to prove that I'm not lazy. I work my ass off, and at sometimes at the expense of myself having a good time. And I'm like, it's time for me to have fun. I'm old.
Amen.
But
I don't know how old you are, but you look fantastic.
66.
You look amazing, girl. Amazing.
Well, I'm trying to be out there to
gosh.
encourage women to live into their best lives. That's what I'm doing. And to be as successful and be as, well-traveled and do all the things you love and work hard at it. It doesn't come for free, because as we were discussing before we came on here, those windfalls of money is like winning the lottery. And I guarantee you there's people in your audience that have already planned out what they're going to do when they inherit their $10 million.
Or win a lottery every time they go and play the Powerball or whatever it is.
So I'm going to buy a house, then I'm going to buy a boat, and then I'm going to put the rest of the money in savings. I ask people this question all the time, but the facts are, which you can't go to one website and get all the information about lottery winners, but I've done a lot of research on it, and most of them don't know how to handle the money. I did know how to handle money. That's the one thing my father did teach me, so that part was not a problem. I no longer knew who my friends were. Why do people like me? Why are they around? I was told by a gazillion people, all the poor boyfriends, the hot ones, they're only there for the money.
Did the friends know that this money had come in?
Yeah, eventually people figure it out. They're like, oh, I have an old house in the West End. I remodeled it. There's a boat in the driveway. They're like,
so your
they make a
actual
lot of
friends started
assumptions.
Treating you differently? Like
Not my true friends, but the people in the restaurants and the bars. And still, weirdly enough, Madison, I have really good friends that are like, I mean, they say it today. They're like, well, you have $60 million in the bank. You don't have to work. One, I don't even have close to $60 million in the bank, and I do have to work to support all these houses that I have.
Yeah.
And, they
enjoy it, and you have a gift to share with the world.
Yeah, and I do a lot of philanthropy and stuff like that. But it's so funny to me that people still to this day say they know how much money is in my bank account. I'm like, I don't remember ever showing you that. But they make assumptions that I have way more than I have. And I should always, why can't you afford whatever?
Wait, so when you go to like a dinner with your friends, do they expect you to pay everything?
Sometimes.
I
have a friend.
Is it like everybody, because when I go to dinner with my girlfriends, we all split it.
Yeah,
that's a normal thing to do.
Yes, there's a lot of pressure.
And
I have a friend.
I would never expect one of my girlfriends to pay for it.
You'd be surprised.
You might need some new friends.
I know. I have a friend who lives in Orlando who's like, I think you should buy me a plane ticket so I can come visit you in Aspen. And I'm like, I'm offering you a free place to stay. Why do you want me to buy you a plane? Because you're rich.
Should be like, you're also not sleeping with me. Sorry, was that inappropriate? No, I'm just kidding.
I love the fact that she's a stand-up comedian. This woman, for those of you that don't know, spent time on Wall Street, decided to be a stand-up comedian, went to reality TV, and is now a life coach. I mean, come on. That is the best combination I've ever heard.
Oh, well, thank you.
Anyway, let's just continue with the lottery winners. Don't know how to use the money, don't know who their friends are or their boyfriends, for all of you women that are making more nowadays. And there's a lot of people that you're like, well, does he really like me for me or does he like me for the money? People lose the money within 3 to 5 years, which my brother did. My brother lost all the money.
You know why, right?
Why?
There's like a whole psychological thing on it. Yeah, it's the same thing why billionaires who go broke quickly become billionaires again within years.
Well, inform me.
Because it's the way their mind is wired. So their mind is just naturally wired towards abundance versus like scarcity. So when you take a lottery winner who typically is probably very poor,
scarcity,
and
yes, I totally agree with this.
They don't know how to rewire, so their brain doesn't feel safe. So it does whatever it can to get rid of that money to get their identity back to the comfort zone. So that's why they go broke, because it's like you look at these two people and you've got this. That's why it's so important if you're manifesting money. It's like you've got to change that identity and really watch your language around, are you operating? Because there's a really good exercise where somebody said, imagine if tomorrow you woke up with $10 million in your bank account. Would that make you feel, how would you feel? Would you be nervous? Would you be like, what do I do with this? Would you be overwhelmed? Would you be, if you're feeling anxiety, nervousness, and your system is going into fight or flight, you're going to have a very difficult time manifesting large amounts of money. So you have to train your system to be able to be like, yeah, that's great. It's exactly what I would do with it. And it's a calming feeling. But that's the whole thing with the lottery winners is they don't. It's a psychological mindset. So I think if we took lottery winners and then we said, okay, now you have to go and do like 6 months intense kind of like NPL training, or is it NLP training like Tony Robbins does.
Yeah.
They probably won't lose the money.
Well,
It's
and
fascinating.
I'll tell you what, the day that you inherit or win the lottery or whatever, you will blow money. I just was able to stop it before it got too serious. But, you know, I mean, and then a lot of people kill themselves because they can't take the pressure. So it's a very weird thing of getting money like that. And I'm sure that people are probably going, what the hell is she talking about? This is crazy. But I can tell you from personal experience, the trauma that I had to go through to be okay with this and to be okay with myself. And I think I mentioned to you that I have a TED Talk all prepared about it doesn't matter how much your net worth goes up, you will always default back to your self-worth. So we have to work on, which is what you started this conversation with in the beginning, is that our self-worth is the thing that builds. And if you just said it, Tony Robbins, it's an example of practicing your self-worth so that your net worth will stay intact.
Yeah, your self-worth equals your net worth.
And that goes true for even if you don't win the lottery. You know, like a business mindset is super important to see a positive energy towards what you're trying to do. I made the mistake of giving several boyfriends some money. Read my book and you'll find out how stupid I really was. And thinking that because they had poor mindsets, all of them.
There's a lot of men that relate to this in New York. Now
I'm
women,
sure.
But yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, so if the person that you're with doesn't have man or woman, doesn't have a good mindset around money, it'll just go right through their fingers. I can see it a mile away if somebody has, for example, I'll just tell you a story. I knew a man, he lived in Aspen. He's been gone for like 7 years. He's a little bit older than me. I kind of like young men. So I wasn't really interested in him, but he kind of had a little bit of a crush on me. But I really literally had not heard from him in 7 years. While he was living in Aspen for like a decade, I knew him.
Yeah.
He never really had a good handle on money. Okay. We lived in a little tiny apartment, squished with stuff, and he worked hard, but somehow it just always ran through his fingers. So I get this text message just like a month ago. You know, I lost $200,000 in the crypto market. He gave it to some Chinese woman that he didn't even know. And he's like, I'm broke and I need money. And I'm like, why are you asking me? I said, absolutely not, because I said, I'd be happy to coach you on how to build your net worth and build your self-worth.
Yes.
Happy to do that for you. But I know if I gave him money, he would just lose it.
Exactly. Did he take you up on the coaching?
No. Because
that's a victim mentality.
Right.
They don't want to be helped. They just want to. Or it was all bullshit. You don't know.
I doubt it, really. But, I mean, it was very strange. I mean, we had no relationship ever. I mean, except for being friends. So I was a little confused. But and for a little while recently, I've had a lot of people come to me, ask me for money. And somebody was like, do people ask you for money all the time?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why do they ask me?
I haven't, quote unquote, fully made it yet. So, no. But I never ask anyone else for money either.
No.
Because I've worked my butt off. But, yeah, I'm not like, you know, I haven't, like, I'm not flying around in, like, you know, only first class and private jets.
Yeah, no, me neither.
But am I happy with the success that I've worked so hard and it's finally coming? Yeah. But no. But I feel so incredibly lucky. I have friends that, you know, girlfriends that are, you know, everybody's successful in their own right. And I've, you know, for many, many, many years have, you know, left Wall Street and was the quote unquote struggling artist going after my dream. And, you know, as they would continue, you know, rising up the corporate ladder, building businesses and their network was going up, it was, you know, I couldn't go on certain trips or, they always kind of knew that money was, you know, but
tight.
I was never treated differently. I was never excluded, like ever. And, but I always paid my fair share. I always was like, it was no big deal. But I just, and I know that a lot of people, their relationships aren't like that. But my friends have treated me exactly the same as to when, I was working temp jobs, slinging dick jokes at night, and like living paycheck to paycheck. And if I lost a job, I was fucked. But I was never treated any different.
Right. Well, I think it's important.
And I do feel very blessed beyond that because I know who my true friends are.
Right.
Because I struggled for so long.
I think it's important to remember that wealth means a lot of things. We associate wealth with money, but
and success. Daryl actually said this to me.
True that. But you are beautiful.
Oh, you're so
lovely.
Sweet. Thank you.
That is wealth right there. You are funny, inclusive. You pay your own way and don't take advantage of. We call people in Aspen short arms if they can't reach into their pocket.
Oh, God.
Which isn't very attractive. So that's why your friends are there for you, because you're a giving person. And so it's really important to remember that wealth doesn't just mean money. It means success. It means happiness. That's the most important thing. Can I share with you my 3 pillars that I determined after finishing this book?
Yes.
Okay. So the 3 things that I figured out were the most important to live a happy life, because I had money. I look pretty good. I'm a great athlete.
You're beautiful, by the way.
Fun. Thank you. And I wasn't really happy. I was just like, I felt like I wasn't good enough, like a lot of people. And I know that there's other women out there that feel like I felt, because I felt it. So I came up with these 3 things. Personal responsibility, clean up your side of the street when you need to. Mm-hmm. Don't take on anybody else's shit, but clean it up if you need to. Say no if it's not a hell yes. And the only time that's not true is if you're on your couch and your friend asks you to go out to dinner. You get off you don't just say, no, I'd rather watch Netflix and eat ice cream. You get off your couch and you go out to dinner. But for every other thing, if it's not a hell yeah, don't do it. And the reason why we say yes to so many things is because we want to be liked. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I have an example to share about that. But my 3rd pillar, which is the thing that changed my life, is not taking things personally.
Like I love that. Yeah, that was one of my key topics I wanted to, because that, so to get into that, not taking, because I feel like everyone's like, everybody takes things personally.
They do. And I'll tell you, it's a lifelong lesson, because they keep getting slung at you. It's not like it goes away. I will tell you a quick story. So I was on the end of a water ski boat, and this was like 3 years ago, a water ski dock. Yeah. And I had a friend there. There was like 5 of us there. And this friend, I wanted to tell a funny story about him and this girl and, I don't know, cocaine and there was whatever. And so I had told some stories about this man before, and he got very upset with me and didn't talk to me for like 2 years. So this time I was like, hey, Paul, can I tell the story about, Natalie and going out and whatever? Now, I should have really taken him aside, but he's like, what story? And I'm like, the one about the cocaine. And he's like, sure. So I shared the story. Everybody laughed, and I left, and I was like, oh my God, I did something differently. And it worked. I give myself a little pat on the back. And from that day forward, I was like, because I used to take everything personally. I used to get really upset when men didn't like me or said I was too loud, which I am, or my kids. They get together, the 3 of them, and they just pick on me like crazy. Oh. And I used to just, I would wait for these vacations for like 6 months for them all to come together. They're all grown and out of the house now. And then I would be crying in the bathroom. And so I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I write about this all on Substack for all you parents out there that can understand. Look me up. Okay. Anyway, so that changed my life. And I still find times when Like I have some renters in my house that are really not acting very nice, and their big English Mastiff is peeing and pooping all over my house, and I'm not taking it personally, but I'm not very happy about it. But I mean,
they have a security deposit, right?
Yes, but not enough to do what these dogs have destroyed. My beautiful home in the West End.
Okay.
Makes me so sad. But anyway, anytime I'm upset, this was an example of I'm being upset, sad, angry, lonely, that is a sign that I'm taking something personally.
Oh,
it's become very clear.
And are you able to quickly identify what it is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then I'm like, we don't do that anymore. So I figured out God gave me this gift on the end of this water ski dog, which really changed my life. I was like, oh my God, I did something right. I didn't piss this guy off.
Yeah.
And it felt so good that I'm like, and it's been years. So I've been practicing really doing that for like 3 years. And some days there's a lot of things. I mean, people will say all kinds of things. Let's just say, for example, Madison, somebody cuts you off in traffic. Or no. By mistake, you cut them off in traffic. And they honk at you, and they're like, you're really like upset over it. You're like, oh, I didn't mean to, we take everything personally. The road is a perfect example of that's why we have 611 road rage or something.
Right.
Is it does we take everything personally, even from strangers. We're like, fuck you, as they're driving by.
Yeah,
and you're like, this has nothing to do with me.
It's usually. But I think we can also identify when we've indirectly, accidentally been rude to people.
Yes.
That it had nothing to do with them. It was just what we were going through.
Absolutely.
I remember
agreed.
like 10 years ago, I think I was a total bitch to this guy at the bar. He just came up just to say hi. And I was like, yeah, not interested, beat it. And it was so rude. And I was like, I don't even think he was hitting on me. But in that moment, I remember I was like, and my friends kind of looked at me like, huh?
Why do you think you did that?
Well,
curious.
I was going through a really tough time myself. So it had nothing to do with that guy.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with that guy. Had everything to do with how I was feeling in that moment and being sad over a breakup I was going through and feeling that I was a failure and, I wasn't successful. It had nothing to do with
Well, in case he's out there, she's sorry. That's
exactly right. If you were at the Bryant Park Cafe, I think it was like maybe 2004. It was a long time ago. Maybe it was even 13 or 14. It was a long time ago. But, I'm sure he was well over it. Guys in New York have a pretty thick skin. But it had nothing to do with him.
And you still remember that story.
Well, because it shocked me that I was such a bitch to him for no reason.
How about
whoa.
How about the woman when you call on Verizon or United Airlines and they make you wait for 30 minutes and you're like,
oh, I feel like you're kind of allowed to be a little snippy. I'm just kidding. No, they're really not.
I'm telling you, I tried to practice there. I sometimes fail, admittedly, where I'm like, really? You don't know how to do your job? I know you know how to change this.
Well, they're also in like a different country and like a different.
But I really tried. This
an
is a great place to practice just being okay.
And being patient.
Being patient.
Yeah.
Because life is filled with them.
But no, it's true. It's like not taking anything personally. But how do you not take like a breakup personally? Because you're like, was it me? What could I have done differently?
No.
And I'm not speaking from my experience. I'm just saying for other people.
Yes.
Like, if I was this, would they want this? Like, this is what I want to speak to the audience really about. Is like, I feel like that people under those circumstances, they blame themselves.
Yeah.
If I was just this, or if I had done this, or
No. We can't do that anymore. It just doesn't work. The thing is that hopefully we learn from whatever way we acted in the relationship to not do that again.
Yeah.
So I'm just about to write my second book. I'm starting on it. And the thing I'm not writing about Morocco. Okay, it has nothing to do with my life. But, it has to do with color. I've been there a lot. I'm going back to complete my journey to write this book, and my real love story, and a real love story with a man as well.
Okay.
And the thing that somebody asked me is, how can I tie what I learned from my last book into this one? And I learned so much from all those sad moments of breakups that were just heart-wrenching. And sometimes they were heart-wrenching, and I wrote about this, heart-wrenching because I made the same mistake over again. And then I'm the one that had to pull back and say, oh, this isn't working. But I'm the one that was showing up in each one of those relationships. And for all you probably, especially women, but men out there as well, you will get over it. So
you do.
Shorten the time. Like how long do you want to spend being depressed? Get up and get off your couch because you will get over it.
It usually happens it's like a flip switches. And all of a sudden, one day you're like,
wait, I had this one
they're
woman,
out of my mind.
I had this one woman who didn't even really like the man that she was with. This was after 3 years, and she's like, he was the best man I've ever met. And I'm like, oh my God, do you remember when you were 16? You're going to be fine. You've said that how many times? And we all are blaming ourselves. And this is the thing that gets us in trouble. Fault, like who cares? Really, honestly,
wasn't meant to be, and now you're
right.
The thing that helps me with my anxiety is like I get excited about the future. So when something doesn't work out, you get bummed, but then you're like, wow, like I don't know what's coming next.
Right, and you know what? I know that there's a lot of single women in your audience that are wondering what is wrong with them that they can't find anyone to be with.
Well, I mean, I'm single. I don't think anything's wrong with me. But like sometimes that crosses your mind. Sometimes where you're like, why can't I find the ones that are like ready to walk down the aisle like within a year? I usually find the men that are, like you think. But I'm at that age where now like a lot are divorced with kids, and do they want to get remarried? And it's kind of like you have to have these conversations early, and you have to be confident in what you want. Like, no, I want to get married, maybe have a kid. I don't know yet, but like I want to have a life partner, and I'm at that age where, I don't want to date somebody for a year and figure it out and just have a good time. Like I'm not at that space in my life. But also you don't want to rush those conversations either. Like let stuff build. You don't want to like be on a first date and be like, so when are you looking to get married? When are you looking? Because that's like, dude.
Ooh, in my book I wrote about, because I was so worried about finances, and I was like, do you have a car and a home? And this one man says, I live in a yurt. I'm like, that does not count. No.
What is a yurt again?
It's like a tent thing. Like,
this was in Aspen?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
another one man told me he lived in an RV, which I would love to live in an RV now, but at the time I was like, no.
Yeah.
But I think that for, because there's a lot of women in your situation in their 30s and looking for
I'm in
a
my
partner.
low 40s.
Oh, okay. Well, it's okay.
I'm the happiest I've ever been, so I'm proud of it.
Yeah, and we had this conversation before, which I'll bring up to your audience too, is that, and this one woman was like, you can't say that. That's not nice. And I was like, well, this is the truth, is collectively as women on the planet right now, we have to know is, what if he doesn't show up? Or what if he doesn't show up in our time frame? Like, how do you want to show up? Go live your best life. Do whatever turns you on and brings you joy. I always tell my kids, don't play soccer because your friends are playing soccer. Play soccer because you want to play soccer. And from that, you'll get friends.
Yes.
So find hobbies, things that make you interesting. There's a great coach. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His name is Matthew Hussey.
Oh, yeah. I see his TikToks.
He's so funny.
Great.
He's so funny. But, he is coaching people in dating. But what he's really coaching them in is how to live their best lives. Yeah, and that becomes more attractive for people.
Well, because I think back in the day, women needed men to survive, right? And their self-worth really was based on, could I find this thing, provider thing, man. But now it's like nothing's wrong with you. I always say, like, I would love to get married. I would love to meet my person. But if it's not in God's plan, then I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, and also
totally fine.
Well, like, see, we there's this ginormous shift that's happening on the planet right now, And everybody thinks, you got to understand, before 1963, women couldn't vote or own property.
Yeah.
It was only a little while ago. There's been 82 generations since zero.
Yeah.
And how many before that, I don't know. And then in the last two, you've all of a sudden have this shift where you have women becoming more empowered, making more money, still not enough, but we're moving in that right trend. And so everybody thinks that they should have it all figured out. Are you crazy? So we as collectively, as I said, from all women on the planet alive today, are in the midst of the transition of what's going on here. I have no idea how it's going to show up, but because of the time period when God, for each one of us, had us show up on the planet. I'm telling you, I talked to 18-year-olds, I talked to 28-year-olds, 38, all the way up to, 88-year-olds who are trying to figure out how to be successful women on the planet and how to be still in relationship, because we still because we're tied back to all that, all those generations.
Masculine.
We're all looking for the same thing.
I want like a masculine provider man, but I also want a man who's going to encourage me to
get out there and do stuff.
Well, follow my dreams.
Yeah.
And if my dream is one day to just not work, that will never happen because I love work. But I'm just saying that's but yeah, you want that like masculine provider.
Everybody's looking for the same man.
Yeah, true. And I got lucky. I recently met somebody or just date. We're not together or anything, but just dating, getting to know each other. But, I got out of a relationship that I was in here and, comparing that to this guy jumped on a plane to take me to dinner and then was booked flights booked weekends. This was amazing. So it was night and day. And I was like, no, that's how I want to be treated. This other guy that I was sad that it ended, I'm like, he was not he made me feel awful. This was.
And you were crying over it. That's what I'm talking about.
I was sad for a couple months.
Yeah, but this is
even though I knew it was sad. The wrong guy.
Yeah, I get you. I hear you.
Yeah, but it's just, it's amazing. But I think it's just, our self-worth is in, how we treat others, how we make other people feel, and how we feel about ourselves. It has nothing to do with how much money you make, if you're married or not married, if you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, if you have kids, if you don't. I'm sure that there's people that look at my life and go, I wish I had her life. Yeah, and then I'm sure there's people that look at my life and say, I'm so glad I'm not in her position. Never married, no kids, still running around having a good time. But everyone's going to have their judgments. So fuck it. Do you?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. I know that most people I think most married women at this moment would want my life at a lot of given times.
Yes.
But happily married ones, no.
No. I think that the answer lies in kind of what I'm saying is, when I say, what if he never comes along, is really finding peace. If this is your life and this is who you are and this is what's meant to happen, then what choice do we have to fight reality?
Mm-hmm. It's true. I have a father who thinks we have less control than we think we do. And I believe that. He thinks a lot of stuff is predestined. He really believes in that. And I believe a lot in that, but I feel we do have some control. God will be here's two roads. Which one are you going to take? I
don't think it really matters which one you take. It's all about finding happiness. Where you need to be. Yeah. And just, I was on a plane just coming here to go to this event for the youth of Franklin, Tennessee, which is going to be great tomorrow night, September 4th at 5 p.m. And so I was sitting next to this woman. She was 62 years old. And literally, she talked my ear off the entire plane flight about her relationship. I always say hello to the person that's sitting next to me. And then I just, see, generally I have other things that I need to do other than making friends on an airplane. But she spent the entire time talking about her dating life.
How old was she?
62. Okay, she just wants a relationship. She wants to have sex. And I said to her, because I'm a life coach by nature, and I said, never asked one question about who I was. Now, she knew what I did, so I was happy to talk to her, really, because she just really needed support and love. And I was like, 2 hours and 43 minutes, it won't kill me. There was no internet on the plane. So
you did a mitzvah, as they call it.
I did.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said to her just gently, I said, maybe you might consider when you're on a date showing up and asking the other person how they feel. Because how you behave in one place is how you behave in another place. So if you're successful in your business, you're probably successful, well, hopefully in your love life. Those are the two things that seem to be divergent. But how you act with anybody is how you act with everybody. So it's super important if you want to be the most popular girl on the planet and go on all the good dates, ask only about other people and do it in a kind, loving way. That is also kind and loving to yourself. And somebody's like, well, then they don't know. I said this to this woman. She's like, well, then they don't even ask me how I feel. Who cares?
Okay, I want you to repeat that again because I think it's so good and it's worth everybody, woman hearing and man hearing again.
Yes. Okay, so if you want to be the most popular person at the party or with the people that you're dating, just ask them about their lives in a kind, loving way that is also kind and loving to you. You know, I used to
Can you give us an example of also kind and loving to you?
Yeah, so you don't want to go so far into, let me just give an example. Okay, so I used to go on dates and I would ask people, because I'm super friendly and whatever, ask them all about them. And then I would leave the date and I was like, I can't talk to them. They didn't ask anything about me.
Okay.
You know, and that felt not kind and loving to me. I was like, well, that's a waste of my time.
Right.
Now, I don't care. Because if I have my own sense of self-worth and I'm getting filled up from inside, nobody has to ask me about what I'm doing. Give them some time. The one thing that I've learned recently is that you got to give people slack, especially somebody you're dating. Right? Because I just told you, I made a reference.
Nervous too. Everybody's a little nervous.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But I just told you that we're all looking for the same. We want successful, tall, athletically handsome, financially successful, funny. We're so busy judging.
Yeah.
If they don't have that, we're on to the next. I mean, they talk about social media, swipe, 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 swipe. So what I've learned is how to be more accepting and not, I used to poke holes into all relationships.
Yeah, it's almost like you were self-sabotaging.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And now I don't do that with people. I just let everyone be them. They don't have to ask about me.
But I feel like when it's a good balance, like
they will.
It's just a balanced conversation where it's like, what's this? What's this? What's this? And also, I want to remind women, I think I've seen some social media videos that I am not liking. And it's not a good, girls in their 20s are very susceptible to, very influenceable. Let's put it that way. You are not entitled to anything, okay? And I think just showing gratitude and appreciation and understanding that these men still work hard for their money and just be grateful.
Yes.
You're not,
it's really great.
They don't owe you shit.
No.
And so I just want people, and it goes for vice versa. Just be grateful that person came out and gave you their time.
Yeah. Kind gratitude. I love.
Yeah. You're not entitled to anything on this planet. Life can change just like this.
And I love that you say that. And you said it earlier before we went on the podcast. So that's really great. And when this all comes to reality is that, so I know a lot of women that can speak to all this shit, but when the rubber hits the road, that's when it counts. And that's why I told you the story on the end of the water ski dock. Because all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I have a choice here. How am I going to handle this? First time I ever did something differently. And I tell all women, people that I coach, I'm like, do something differently.
I love that.
I don't care what it is.
Well, yeah, it's if you want to have the same life,
you can do the same thing, and we all do the same thing.
Exactly. So listen, I could talk to you for hours. You're amazing. I loved you. Tell everyone where they can follow you, buy your book, hire you, all that good stuff.
Yes. So my book is available on Amazon and in Ingram Sparks, so it's in some bookstores where you can request it. It's called A Woman on Top, My Journey of Self-Discovery Through Love and Money. And I have a website, which is Suzanne Leydecker, which I think will be in your show notes, my spelling of my last name, because it's very strange. And I'm on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, all under my name. I do have a Facebook page of A Woman on Top as well, which, by the way, I
love that name. That's
because if you Google women on top, you get a lot of naked women on top, and then you get me. But the idea is being on top of our game as females.
Amen.
And you know what? Again, I will go back to end this with, if you think we've got it all figured out, you're crazy. We're going. We are the guinea pigs in this thing that is moving from the transition of being where we were, very subservient women that needed men and stayed at home and raised the family, to who knows what.
Exactly. And you know what? Be okay with the unknown.
Be okay, and just be kind and loving to yourself and others.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming into the studio. Loved you. I'm glad. I'm going to consider you a new friend. Loved meeting you. You're so much fun. And thank you to everybody who is listening or watching wherever you may be. We couldn't do this without you. Please remember to like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, so we can continue bringing you great episodes that make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. We will see you next time on Next to Madison. Thanks. Oh, and don't forget to follow our guest also on Substack under her name, Suzanne Leydecker. So we'll see you next time to find out who's next. Thanks.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.